Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Documentary Podcast. On our newsmaker line, we have the one and only Tracey Lucas. She's from Washington, D.C. She's going to talk about running for mayor. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm currently still a DC resident, never left. Born and raised here, Ward 8. I have always been a public servant. No matter where I worked, I was serving people. I've worked in federal government, district government, private sector, medical, law, legal. I've had the opportunity to be, as I say, the servant so that I could better understand how the city operates.
What made you want to run for mayor?
The state of DC made me want to run for mayor. We need someone who's passionate about people. Not things and buildings, but people, because right now people need a leg up. We need to save our children. Unfortunately, they are going through some tough times with the criminal justice system. And it's about time that people come together because we are the city. We are the heartbeat of the city, the residents.
The mayoral race is not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult climb to the top to win this thing. First off, people need to know who you are, what you do. What are some of your priorities?
My priorities, first of all, is to cut the crime. Because in order to have people feel safe, because we're losing so many storefronts, and in order for us to build, we have to remove the crime so that we can bring back businesses, because businesses bring back jobs. And with those two things functioning, we can start to build on the foundation financially, because right now it's not looking good for the residents.
How do you plan to build up jobs? What do you plan to do to get more jobs?
Well, first of all, we cannot keep raising taxes on these businesses. When they're being robbed, crime is a leading problem. We have to be fair, because I believe if we draw business in and people are able to pay their bills and spend their money, that's a start to building financial wealth in the district.
As far as the housing concerned, affordable housing, how will you address the growing concerns about affordable housing? There is no really a lot of affordable housing in DC. How do you going to deal with that problem with affordable housing?
Affordable to who? That's the question. Who is affordable to? Right now, I don't see any affordable housing, because with people losing jobs, what does affordable look like? You can work here in the district, but what's the chance that you can live here in the district, given the climate of what it costs to just rent here? Students are having to move back home. We have to change that. It can't be considered affordable, because then we have to ask the question of who is it affordable to? And we want to make sure that if you work here, you should be able to live here.
What about the diversity of the community? How are you planning to include that or work with the diversity of the DC?
Well, DC is pretty diverse. And what we need to do is, I know we have visitors, but we need to know who the visitors are and what their needs are so that we can incorporate them in our city, so that we can coexist together and make it so that we're all functioning at a level of trying to give back, because that's part of building a city. You teach people how to maintain financial stability so that they in turn can give back and we can continue to grow here.
What about the cyclist friendly? Is that a concern that had the city more cyclist friendly or cyclist and pedestrian and cyclist friendly? Is that important?
Well, yes, it is important. Because, like I said, people are going to ride their bikes, right? And we have so many motorists on the road, and we have to be careful as to where we place bike lanes, because we don't want to have it become a problem with the vehicles and the bicycles. We want to make sure that the communities have a chance to say if these bike lanes are warranted in their community.
Excellent, excellent. How will you work with local small businesses to support their growth?
Well, it goes back to me saying, it's to my understanding that their taxes went up 10%, went up. And so, given the climate of the city, I just don't think it's fair to them because they're getting robbed, burglarized. It's hard for them to stay afloat right now. And so my thing is that crime is a big issue here, a very big issue. And it's not only affecting people, but it's affecting the businesses. And in order for us to get the business to come back, because a lot of them are pulling out, we have to tackle this crime issue. We really do. And then once we tackle that, we have to be fair when taxing these startup businesses.
How do you plan to balance economic growth with the preservation of green spaces?
Well, that's going to be something to consider, because right now all the spaces are being taken up with buildings. DC is not that large, and so we want to continue with the green spaces for sure, because right now our air quality is bad, right? And so we need to do things that are conducive to making sure that we can sustain the future.
In DC, you have a lot of people who are struggling with the cost of living. How do you plan to help those people who are struggling with the cost of living?
Well, right now, because of the state of the United States with our new president, we need to be helping our residents. They need to know that they have jobs because they're invested here. And it's no, disrespect to our Maryland and Virginia neighbors, but right now we have to consider our own residents, and they should be gainfully employed. They should be able to continue to invest here in the district. So in order for us to balance that, we have to sometimes take care of our own.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. What reforms, if any, would you like to implement within the local police force?
Well, I say this, we have some good officers, and there's a lot going on within the police community. I would love to see them get more, but we need more training. We need more. We don't need more officers if we have the officers that are in place connecting with the community, right? This is a team effort in DC. Until we understand that law enforcement is here for crime, true, but they should also be here to make sure that the citizens that aren't breaking the laws are protected as well.
You have to be right. Law enforcement should not be just about protecting people. It should be a service to the community and making sure people are safe. How will you ensure the safety in our neighborhoods without over-policing or over-policing them?
Well, I want to hold parents accountable. They need to know where their children are, right? And I also want to bring back vocational education, because those are things that kept our children engaged. It's something that they can work towards financially for entrepreneurship, right? It gives them hope. And a lot of that has been removed from our communities. And so I wanted to go back to us working as a village.
Do you think they'll get vocational training in schools again?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
That would be excellent. That would help a lot of people.
Yes, and it would keep kids occupied. These are things that are definitely needed because, like I said, they're learning a skill, a trade, and it helps them to be ahead of the changing times.
What about first responders? How do you support the needs of our first responders?
I think our first responders, especially school teachers, and firemen, those areas, I would like to see improvements with taking care of them, because there's no reason our 911 system should not be working. They should also have the things that they need to take care of the residents in the DC area. We can always talk about taxes, but I think our tax dollars should be supporting them, not taking away from them. Right now, I just don't see them getting what they deserve.
Can you explain your approach to the development of new neighborhoods?
I just want it to be fair housing. We get a lot of new neighborhoods, but we need to make sure that it is sustainable and affordable for anyone who wants to live in that neighborhood. These new neighborhoods now are so high to live in that an everyday worker has a hard time being there. And that's what I want to change.
I tell you, the neighborhoods are changing fast. It's going to the point where the neighborhoods, you walk down the street one day, next day you don't recognize where you're at. It's just that fast. Is that something that you're going to keep that pace, or you're going to slow it down a little bit?
I would love to slow it down because people need to know their neighbors, grow with their neighbors. It's called stability. And if we don't get some kind of stability here in DC, we're going to keep crashing and burning because we're changing too fast, too quick. And in that change, people are losing out. People are being left out. And we want to be inclusive. We want to make sure that people are productive here and they have the opportunity to be productive, that the things they need are within reach.
How do you propose to support students with special needs and learning disabilities? People who have learning disabilities, or you have anything in the future that you would do different for them?
Yes, like I say, we put up new buildings and new foundations all the time. And I believe they deserve a state-of-the-art facility so that they can have everything they need right there and they can have their community. Because yes, it's great that they interact with other schools and other people, but I think they'll get the time that they need to develop in a pace that they need to. While we're changing, why not change and give them something they need?
How will you ensure that school curriculums reflect the diversity of the city's population?
I would love to write some policies, initiatives, and bills to make sure that certain things are a must when it comes to education. I think we can grow in many areas. Financial education is one of them. I believe that our history is important because it kind of helps us to prayerfully not return to those days when they weren't so great for everybody. And I think as long as they know where they came from, they can decide where they're going. But I don't believe you should ever take away the knowledge of what history looked like for us as a people and as a nation.
Utilities seem to be going off the roof, out of sight in DC. You got people with one bedroom apartment, and the utilities is $400 or $500 a month. They say they have some kind of programs called energy assistance that you can get help. But what would you do different to help people with this utility situation? That's a big problem in DC. Utilities are going off the roof.
Well, see, that's the problem. It seems like there's no ceiling to anything in a district, and it's like it comes a time where we should be able to breathe. Again, utilities should not be that high. They shouldn't. Who are we paying, and where is the money going to? I mean, we had utilities decades ago, and they weren't this high, and we still survived. So what has changed to the point where people can't even afford to pay utilities? I mean, I just believe because we're the nation's capital does not mean everything must come so expensive and so high. Because other than that, make us a state. Because this is not going to work if every dollar we get goes right back out the door for things such as utilities. Do we have to choose between utilities and food? That makes absolutely no sense. If you want people to thrive, you have to put things in place so that we understand we can make it here.
You mentioned statehood. What is your take on statehood? What do you believe that DC should it be a state? What's your opinion on that?
Well, my thing is that if you heal the people, you build the land financially, economically, yeah, we can be a state. We should be a state. We should have a say in Congress. Then we don't have to go back and forth about who's going to control us, right? We would have our say, our seats. So I believe if we can straighten out the current conditions of DC, we just one day may have a chance at statehood.
What about the aging roadways and bridges in the city? What are your plans to do about that?
These streets should have been fixed. I just believe with contractors, when you're finished doing your business, pave the street properly when you're finished. Let's not do a patch here and a patch there. Let's fix the streets. See, if you take care of things and you inspect them like you should, we would not be at a fall apart state of being, because that's what's happening now. Everything's falling apart because we have people in place to inspect these bridges, inspect the streets, make sure things are done properly. Where are they? Why hasn't this been done? Because then we would not be in the condition we're in now, falling apart.
What is your approach to crowd management and improving the safety of large public events? Seems to be a problem with large public events. There's no security or safety is not where it should be. What's your take on that?
Well, when you have events, it's supposed to be a population control situation. We know how many people can occupy a certain space, and it needs to follow the guidelines for that. I know everybody wants to be somewhere, but there comes a point you have to take safety first. Because in this day and time, so many things can happen when you put so many people in a small, limited amount of space. That's how things can fall apart and tragedy can strike. So I just think holding people accountable. Do your job. Everybody has a job. Everybody's getting paid. If we just did that, we could see results. Because, like I said, when you look at buildings shouldn't be falling apart because we have inspectors. If they inspect them, then they can hold these places accountable for keeping them up so that tenants can live decent, you know?
Do you feel the inspectors are doing their job at this point? Are they inspecting these properties properly?
No.
Are they inspecting apartments? What do you think the inspectors are doing that they could do different?
I think if they were on their schedule like they're supposed to, because inspecting once a year, every other year for certain places should already be active, right? It shouldn't take for a fire to break out, a phone call to come in, a news channel to say, hey, look it over there. Because if they, every day they should be inspecting somewhere, because that's their job. That's their job. And if they did that, it would keep places from falling apart.
What about this balanced economic development or environmental conversation? What do you think about let's do that balanced economic development or environmental conservation?
Excuse me. Well, the balance for economic conservation. I believe, again, it starts with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all every problem and situation we have is because people. We're not working together for the same common goal. If we could understand that if we take out, when we're taking away, we have to put something back. And it's not going back to things that are needed. It's just not. You can pick any area in DC. It's just not happening right now.
How will you ensure the voices of all city residents are represented in your administration?
I would make sure that council is doing their job, because council should be out here in these communities. And when they're out in these communities, that's another thing. If someone's telling you that their conditions are so horrible, you should have certain places on speed dial. As far as inspectors, I need you to come and inspect this property ASAP, right? And do the necessary things so that tenants can get what they need, residents can get what they need. If you don't talk to the community, how are you going to know what the issues are? It's not just about coming election time. This is a public servant seat. You must be constantly in contact and serving your public. It's not a Hollywood job. It's not. So if every council took care of their ward, they would know what they need, what's going on. They would know where the pockets of crime are, how to alleviate it, how to connect with the agencies, the police department, the schools, everything that's available. We have too many programs and outreaches for us not to be utilizing them and having safer communities. It's just no way.
Excellent, excellent. What initiative will you take to increase the voter turnout and participation in local elections? How do you get the people to come out to vote? Because that seems to be a problem. Nobody's voting.
Well, first of all, they have to really feel something is sincere, because I am the people. You know, when you've been lied to over and over again, we keep selecting people that we believe they're going to do what they say, and repetitively, it doesn't happen. So they have to know that you're there to support them. Me as a candidate, I want to make sure I have people in place that will help assist them to get out and vote, to make a difference, have a say. You know, let's not go on because their name is familiar. Let's go on, I want something new. I want a leadership that stands with the people, not buildings, but people.
How would you enhance transparency and openness in the government proceedings? Right now, it's not transparent enough. There's things happening in the government that people don't even know what's going on. They're not being shared with the public. How would you do more transparency when it comes to government?
And see, this is the thing. We use the internet for so many things, right? Instagram, all these outlets. Why aren't they informed about basic information that's going to take place? Because kids, even kids will probably tune in. If information was transparent, hey, we're going to talk about what we're going to do to your community this week, right? And once we can reach them. And like I say, again, it goes with our council members getting out there, putting the information out, putting the flyers out to make sure they receive it. See, you can't say what you're doing and you're really not. You have to make sure that they're receiving this information to know we need to hear from you, right? It can't be every now and then. If you build a rapport with these wards and the people in these communities, they will be more in tune with showing up and participating.
How will you use social media and other technologies to reach out to constituents? How will you do that? How are you using technology to reach out?
Well, like I said, I want to be able to speak to them. I want to be able to have an open dialogue because they on Instagram, they on Facebook. If you want to reach the up and coming future, unfortunately, because of technology, that's how you reach them. If you say something and you tell them where to respond, how to get in touch with your representatives, tell them how you feel, or make it so that they can even make a post to state what they feel. You know, it's so many ways technology-wise to communicate. And it's just a matter of us being transparent in what's really happening in real time. Not a surprise.
So they can go on social media and voice their opinion? Would that be good?
Yeah, yeah. What better place? Everybody's on it. Everybody's on it. What better place? Because then, not only for them, but as a mayor, you can hear some things that you might need to take a look at, right? And even as the council members, they may hear something that they need to go in that community and talk and say, hey, what can we do to help? What do you need? You know, it's about helping each other. It's not about, hey, I got mine, you got yours to get. It's about us helping each other. Because if we work together, we thrive together. People are tired of just surviving. We're tired. For years and years and decades, we're surviving. No, we don't want to survive. By now, we should be thriving. As much money as we dump into the city, pay our taxes, we should be thriving at this point. We're the nation's capital.
There seems to be a gap between different community groups. How will you bridge that gap?
Well, the thing, like I said, the thing is that you have to find out what's missing in these communities, right? And we understand that a lot of kids have lost parents, have lost siblings. So if it's grief or anger, we have to address that. Parents have to stand up and be parents. They have to acknowledge these things in their household and use what's available to help their children. We cannot no longer leave children to their own devices. Look at where we're at with that. So again, I say government needs to govern the government. And people need to govern their children, right? We need the government to just take a step back, right? Everybody don't need the government if we take care of each other, build and do what's necessary. We can take care of each other.
How will you combat corruption and promote ethical conduct within city government? Like the council, for instance, this corruption, what could you do to combat that as mayor? What could you stop? How would you stop that corruption?
First of all, you have to be in tune with what you're signing, what you're giving out, because all bills and policies come through your desk. Why are you you can't, excuse what I'm saying, you can't just keep signing things, right? If you don't know the need, right? And then you have to have someone, see, this is where jobs come in at. You hire people to follow the process, to make sure things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. Money is being spent where it's supposed to be spent. You know, yeah, that's how you create jobs. You allocate responsibilities because a mayor can't see and do everything. But you should be able to hire folks who are qualified and skilled to make sure that what's supposed to be done is being done.
What about conflict of interest within the administration? How would you handle that?
Conflict within the administration?
Your conflict of interest, like somebody may be doing something in the administration or the council that's a conflict of interest with what their job is supposed to be doing.
Oh, immediately we have to have a come to Jesus meeting. Immediately, because see, if there's a conflict, the only way we get to a resolution, we got to point out what the issues are, and we got to find out and address them. And if it's not addressed appropriately, we have to take next steps. There's no half stepping. There's no go along to get along at all. A job is just that, a job. Do your job.
How do you plan to provide regular updates on the progress toward reaching your campaign promises?
What I will do is in fact, like I said, I took a page out of Barry's book. I want to be one with the community. I don't need to just sit in a desk. I want to see them. I want to see what's happening in the communities myself. Because sometimes you do have time to do that, right? And other times, like I said, I will go on Instagram and put a post. I will let them know where I am with anything that has to affect the residents of DC. They have a right to know. Because like I said, who wants to keep paying taxes, putting money in, and then your man say, surprise, this is what I bought you, right? I think it's fair enough that we all should have a say as to what comes to our communities, you know?
What is your website and your Facebook page and Instagram page?
Tracey24.Lucas@yahoo.com. My Facebook is Tracy Lucas. My Instagram is Tracy Lucas.
Excellent, excellent. How do you plan to provide regular updates? Right now you're running for mayor. They want to see how you're progressing along. Are you going to have more town meetings, or are you going to have, what are you going to do to make your updates be visible to the public that you're running for?
Well, what I plan to do, given the support of the people, if they really want me to be in position to win for them, I would love to just keep, on my page, my website, I post. I try to keep people informed as to where I stand. And the thing is that donations are important. I want to be voted in by the people, not by investors. I want the people to choose me.
How do you think that people will see to you? Because you are new. You're somebody that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know what you're speaking very well today, letting people know what your concerns are. This race, again, I want to stress, it's not going to be an easy race. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard. Mm-hmm. With a person with your qualifications and your desire and your means to want to help, and you're going to be a people's mayor. You're not going to be a mayor that's not going to be connected to the people. Mm-hmm. When it comes to this mayoral race, you're going to be in the trenches. You're going to be out there every day, making sure that they know who you are. Mm-hmm. How can they donate to your campaign?
They can go to my website, Tracey.Lucas, and contribute.
Is it appropriate to ask about a past record of yours? Do you have anything that you want to talk about in your past that makes you qualify?
Well, my thing is that I've always been good enough to work in all these agencies and departments. And as a public servant, right? I went back to school and got my degrees because I understood what DC needs. I understand because I am the people, right? Transparency and accountability is something we lack. And I know that with all the money we take in, it could be better spent in areas to build on this foundation we already have. We need to repair, we need to restore, we need to heal. As the nation's capital, we should be the blueprint. And I just believe if I can work anywhere in the District of Columbia, anywhere, without the degrees, may not have gotten paid what I was worth, but that didn't matter. I did the job to learn what was going on in my city. And after I learned enough, like I say, I further educated myself so that I can sit in this seat, fight and defend the residents of DC. Because right now, it's not happening. It's not happening. And I don't have a stake in this other than I've been here all my life and have yet to leave. And so I am equipped to balance a budget, to create a city where people understand what it's like to walk around and not be afraid of each other. It's just so many things that need to be done that haven't been done in a decade. Hasn't been done. In fact, it's gotten worse. So people are already sitting in seats that could have made the difference, done something new. They haven't. So I'm here to bring bold new leadership because we need that. We need to incorporate our graduates, the future generations, into what's best for their future. Because I tell you, between the economy and the agriculture, we're suffering.
Will you implement channels for whistleblowers to report unethical behavior within the city government? Will you have a channel for whistleblowers to do that?
Yeah, I definitely want to know. And that's what bothers me. They keep saying whistleblowers. It's called transparency. If there's an issue, it needs to be addressed. Mm-hmm. Nobody should be in fear of addressing something that should not be happening. Nobody. That's the problem. We're tired of the corruption. Let's do right, and we ain't got to worry about going wrong.
Excellent, excellent. So you will have a channel open for whistleblowers to come to you. If they see something wrong or visualize somebody doing something wrong, they can come to you and give the information you'll take care of it.
Most indubitably. Because like I said, if we can work in peace, we can live in peace. Those two things have to come together.
The administration today, you lived in the city, you've seen different mayors come and go. We had good mayors, we had so-so mayors, people still have a good reference toward Mayor Barry because he was a people's mayor. He had some personal problems, but he did things in the mayoral. When he was mayor of the city, people felt that they were getting something back from the mayor. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be something that you're going to try to implement when you become mayor? Is that going to be like a thing where you can say, hey, I'm going to be a people's mayor, I'm going to give something to the city, I'm going to make a difference in the city, I'm going to make it where just being mayor is not going to be just being mayor. You had some mayors of the Washington, D.C., they just was mayor. Mm-hmm. They had the 4-year term, whatever, left the city, you don't even, their name is not even recognized anymore. If you ask the person on the street right now, name all the mayors of D.C.
They don't even know.
They don't even know. Nope. They can tell you each and every single mayor.
Nope.
Because most of them did not leave an impact. Mm-hmm. Or impact. Mm-hmm. They were just there. But you say Marion Barry, they know about Marion Barry because he was they call him mayor for life. Mm-hmm. They know about Mayor Bowser because she's been there for a minute. But you talk about some of these other mayors, people don't know what they did, what they didn't do. Why would he? Now, Walter Washington was the very first mayor. People still don't talk about much what he did. He was the very first mayor. So you're going to be something different. Give us a little sneak input of what you may do different.
What I will be doing different is that I am out here fighting for the babies, the children. I'm going to be on the front line with them. Because I think they need to be protected, supported, and guided in a direction of prosperity. That's what I want to do. And our senior citizens, they've put their time in. They should be loved and sitting back and enjoying what they've already invested in. Those two areas, because everybody else in between, we have the strength and the momentum to make things happen. So I just want to always be in touch with what's going on. I don't want to feel like I have to hide. I have to, only see people in front of a camera. No, I want to know that my work for the people is having an impact in their lives for good, for the good of them. And we can't say that about everybody. And the reason why Marion Barry's name ring with everybody, because he was my mayor, right? And we knew that he was fighting for us and with us. Regardless to his personal choices, when he made decisions, it was for the betterment of the people. We can't say that about too many others, and unfortunately, including the one we have now. Because I'm sure if crime was like it was now, we only wish we had Barry.
Well, crime is not like it was years ago when you had 400 people dying a year.
Yeah, okay.
Crime is not that bad in D.C., but it's still bad.
It is.
And you got people now. Tell us about the things about these stores where people are being able to go and shoplift from stores. How would you combat this shoplifting epidemic? That people can come into a CVS or a Safeway, as long as you don't steal over $700, you can walk out. So people are walking out. Now they have it so where you have to lock up stuff. Things have to be locked up because people will steal the soap powder.
But see, this is the ridiculous part, and I get frustrated because if you're stealing, you're stealing. I don't care whether it's $2 or $1, you're stealing. And you need to understand the consequences of your actions, because if you don't understand your consequences, you're bound to repeat it. And that's what we're having, repeats of greater and larger. So what I'm saying is that boot camps, because kids can be, they can turn things around if given the correct information and environments, right? And I think a boot camp helps them to be responsible, right? And it can keep them on course with their education, a trade, but they have to have consequences. And somewhere in between with children, parents need consequences too. Because what we instill in them determines the outcome, right? And we can't say that all children won't have mischievous moments. They do because they're kids. But it all depends on how we respond to the criminal act, right? Because if like I said, it starts out small and then it gets greater. So we have to put things in place to help them, not to criminalize them, because they're children.
They're children.
Yeah.
What about fare invasion? There's a big problem with fare invasion on the subways and on the metro bus drivers. What can we do with this?
Now, for the children, if they went to school, they get a free fare card.
Okay.
So that tells you a lot of them are not going to school. Because you get a fare card from school when you go, right?
Okay.
For free access to the metro and the subway, right?
And seniors get a discount. A metro card, right?
Right. So my thing is, a lot of people have come here. We got to face this. A lot of people have come to the district and they're not set up to be here. They just came, and so they don't use the resources because of the fear of the unknown, right? They don't know what's going to happen if they decide to say, here, I'm here, I came from XYZ. They don't know if they're going to get thrown out or able to stay. So they're pretty much just living off their own devices. And until we can establish whether we're going to accept them or not, we're going to keep having this problem. Because what do you think people are going to do that's desperate? What do you think they're going to do? Even with the shelters, right? People go commit crimes in Wisconsin. And they say, oh, we can go in D.C. and hide in the shelter. They'll never find us there. We have no boundaries on anything for D.C., right? Even if you're in a shelter, we need to know who you are. We need to know who you are. Because we need to make sure that the families who have to be there are safe. So, again, Where do we hold people accountable for doing their jobs? We're putting up all these fancy buildings, but are we putting up buildings that are needed to help the people of DC?
Well, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think you'll be an excellent mayor. You seem to have your heart, your mind, you have a purpose of what you know you want to do, and you're going to implement it. You're going to make sure it's done. Again, tell them how to get in touch with you, your website, how to get in touch with you as far as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X. Or, tell them.
Okay, sure. Tracey Lucas, for mayor of DC. That's the website. Just put my name in Google, and I will instantly pop up. Far as the social outlets, Facebook, Tracey Lucas, Instagram, Tracey Lucas. We're going to keep things simple because I want to make sure that people can reach me.
Remember that name, Tracey Lucas. Is there anything you want to say, or do we leave out that you want to put in for this interview? What do you want to say?
I want to say to the residents of DC, for once, make a decision based on someone who has a passion for people. Because I believe a public servant is best suited for this job because it is a job for a public servant. I don't want to be Hollywood. I've never been there. I've been here through the thick of it, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows with DC residents. And I just say this, don't count me out, count me in. And I thank you for your time.
Excellent.